$311 million. That's what it costs to run the entire island of Kauai for a full year. Every road repaired, every school staffed, every public service funded, all of it for 12 months straight on $311 million. Now hold that number in your head for a second, because one man just spent more than that buying land on the same island. Not running it, not governing it, just buying it. And he takes home a salary of exactly $1 a year. His name is Mark Zuckerberg. And what he's been quietly building on the North Shore of Kauai isn't a vacation home. It isn't a retreat. It's something else entirely. And we'll get to exactly what that is. But here's what makes this story deeper than the headlines. The man behind the compound started out programming in a dentist's waiting room in suburban New York. And the fortress he's built in Hawaii is the physical expression of a journey so extreme, so improbable, that most people still don't fully understand how it happened. We're going in. All the way in. Why Kauai? Of all the places on Earth a man worth over $200 billion could plant a flag. Monaco, the Maldives, private islands in the Caribbean. Why this particular stretch of the Hawaiian Islands? Part of it is the raw geography. Kauai is the oldest of the major Hawaiian islands. It is the least developed, the most isolated, the most ecologically dense. The Nepali coast drops into the Pacific like a cathedral of green and stone. The interior of the island, the Alakai swamp, is one of the wettest places on Earth. This isn't a resort island. This is something primal, but Zuckerberg's connection to Kauai goes beyond aesthetics. His wife, Priscilla Chan, has deep ties to the Asian Pacific community, and the couple has given more than $20 million to nonprofits on the island since 2018. They come here to surf, to farm, to raise cattle. They have named their estate Kolo Ranch, after the Olau Mountains that run along the eastern ridge of the island. His stated goal is to raise world-class cattle and produce some of the highest quality beef in the United States. But there is also something about the remoteness that matters. This is a man who lives at the center of the world's largest social network, who sees every data point, every behavioral trend, every political earthquake as it registers across 3.5 billion daily users. Kauai, 12 miles wide and surrounded by open ocean, is as far from that center as you can get without leaving the country. We'll come back to why that distance might mean more to Zuckerberg than almost anything money can buy. Mark Elliott Zuckerberg was born on May 14, 1984 in White Plains, New York, and grew up in Dobbs Ferry, a quiet, comfortable suburb in Westchester County about 30 miles north of Manhattan. His father was a dentist. His mother was a psychiatrist. The family was doing fine. This is not a story that starts in hardship the way some do, with empty refrigerators and broken windows and a kid who had nothing to lose. Zuckerberg had plenty. And that is almost what makes his story harder to understand, because what drove him was not survival. It was something more restless and more dangerous. He started coding before most kids his age had finished their multiplication tables. Around 10 or 11 years old, he built a program he called ZUCKNet, a messaging system that connected his father's dental office to the family home. Not a school project, not something he was asked to do. He just saw a problem, sat down, and wrote the solution. His father, Edward, recognized something unusual in his son and hired a private software tutor, a developer named David Newman, to teach Mark what formal schooling couldn't keep up with. By the time he reached high school at Ardsley, then later at the elite Phillips Exeter Academy in New Hampshire, Zuckerberg was already operating on a different level. At Exeter, he built a program called Synapse, an AI-powered music player that analyzed your listening habits and generated personalized playlists. It was, essentially, the core idea behind what Spotify would later build into a multi-billion-dollar company. Microsoft and AOL both reached out about licensing Synapse. He was 17. He turned them down and enrolled at Harvard. At Harvard in 2002, Zuckerberg was studying psychology and classics, a combination that might seem strange for someone who would go on to rewire human social behavior at planetary scale, but in retrospect, it's the most logical combination imaginable. He understood systems, he understood people, and he understood that most social systems were poorly designed. In October 2003, he launched FaceMash, a controversial website that let Harvard students rate each other's photos side by side. The university shut it down in 48 hours, but the traffic it generated in those 48 hours, the sheer number of people who clicked, who competed, or who kept coming back, told Zuckerberg something that would shape everything that followed. People crave social comparison. They will always click. He launched Facebook on February 4, 2004 from his dorm room at Kirkland House. Within 24 hours, over 1,000 Harvard students had signed up. Within a month, it had spread to Yale, Columbia, and Stanford. Within a year, it was at 800 universities. When Peter Thiel wrote him a check for $500,000 in the fall of 2004, Zuckerberg dropped out of Harvard and moved to Silicon Valley with his roommate Dustin Moskovitz. He was 20 years old. What followed was not smooth. It was lawsuits and betrayals and the grinding pressure of building something that had never existed before. Eduardo Savarine, a co-founder, was diluted out of the company in circumstances that became the subject of years of litigation and a David Fincher film. The Winklevoss twins sued him for allegedly stealing the concept. Congressional hearings, regulatory battles, the weight of 1 billion eyes. And then, in 2022, came the moment that tested whether any of it had been built to last. Meta's stock collapsed, not dipped, collapsed. Between early 2022 and the end of that year, the stock shed more than 60% of its value. Zuckerberg personally lost over $100 billion in a single calendar year, the largest single-year personal wealth destruction in the history of American finance. The metaverse bet looked like a catastrophe. Wall Street called it a vanity project. His net worth, which had touched $140 billion, fell to roughly $35 billion. Analysts wrote the obituaries. But he did not flinch. In 2023, he declared the year of efficiency. He laid off over 21,000 employees. He flattened the management structure. He canceled projects that weren't working and redirected every dollar of firepower toward artificial intelligence and the core advertising business. It was cold and surgical, and it worked. Meta's stock came roaring back. By late 2025, his net worth had climbed past $270 billion. One of the greatest single-year collapses in financial history had become one of the greatest recoveries. And somewhere along the way, he was still quietly buying land in Hawaii. Now, Olau Ranch. Drive north from Lihue Airport on Highway 56, and you start to feel the island change around you. The strip malls and traffic lights give way to sugarcane fields and red dirt roads. The ocean appears in flashes between cliffs. The air gets wetter. By the time you reach the town of Kauai on the North Shore, you are in a different world. Slower, greener, older. Turn toward the coast, and you'll eventually hit the boundary of what Zuckerberg has been assembling for over a decade. There are no flashy signs, no grand entrance, just a fence line that seems to go further than it should in every direction, with cameras mounted at intervals that you might notice if you were paying attention. Most people aren't. The entry to the compound itself is secured in a way that goes beyond standard celebrity privacy. Workers who have spent months on the property, hundreds of them, constructing and maintaining a world-class estate, have all signed non-disclosure agreements with teeth. They don't talk, not publicly, not informally, or not at the local diner on Friday night. The NDA is not a formality here. It is the architecture of a wall that exists before you ever reach the physical one. What we know about the compound's interior comes from planning documents filed with Kauai County and a handful of investigative reports that have pieced together what the documents reveal. Start at the perimeter. A 6-foot privacy wall runs along the sensitive boundaries of the estate, providing a visual and physical buffer that turns the property inward, away from the road and away from the world. Inside that wall, the centerpiece of the compound is a pair of mansions that together span approximately 57,000 square feet. To put that in context, the average American home is around 2,300 square feet. Zuckerberg's two main residences together are 24 American homes stacked side by side. Each mansion has elevators, private offices, conference rooms, and industrial kitchens. Not vacation kitchens with copper pots hanging over an island, but working industrial kitchens built for scale. The two structures are connected by a tunnel running underground, so you can move between them without ever stepping outside. That tunnel does not just connect the mansions, it branches. And one branch leads somewhere that tells you more about how Zuckerberg thinks about the future than any interview he has ever given. The bunker. According to planning documents reviewed by Wired, beneath Kolo Ranch there is an underground shelter approximately the size of an NBA basketball court, roughly 5,000 square feet of reinforced space. It has a living area and a mechanical room. It has an escape hatch. This is not a tornado room or a backup generator bay. This is a structure engineered for extended habitation in conditions where the above-ground world has become hostile. Call it a doomsday bunker if you want the tabloid version. The more precise framing is this. It is a man with total visibility into the fracture points of human civilization choosing to build accordingly. Above ground, the compound does not feel like a fortress. It feels, by all accounts, like the most thoughtfully designed outdoor space you have ever seen. There are 11 treehouses scattered across the upper canopy of the estate, each built as a livable structure, connected to each other via rope bridges strung between the treetops. Not decorative, not Instagram staging, actual treehouses, busy with enough elevation and sightline to make you feel like you're floating over the canopy of a rainforest. The Pacific is visible in the distance. There's a full-size gym, multiple swimming pools, a hot tub, a sauna, and a tennis court surfaced to competition standard. Recent planning documents confirmed additional construction underway. 3 new large buildings ranging from 7,820 to 11,152 square feet. 2 of them are designed in a motel-style layout with 16 bedrooms and 16 bathrooms each, plus a shared lanai over 1,300 square feet. Guest capacity on this property, when fully built out, will not be measured in rooms. It will be measured in small villages. Hidden cameras are installed throughout, integrated into the landscaping and architecture in a way that maximizes coverage without visual intrusion. And then there are the blind doors, interior and exterior doors designed to mimic the appearance of the surrounding walls so precisely that you can walk past one and not realize it exists. The compound is, in the deepest sense, a designed environment. Every surface intentional, every sightline considered, every entrance and exit controlled. The most recent acquisition, 962 acres purchased in early 2025 for approximately $65 million from the Mary Lucas Trust Estate, land that was previously leased for sugarcane cultivation and cattle grazing, brings Zuckerberg's total Kauai holdings to more than 2,300 acres. That is roughly 3.6 square miles of a Hawaiian island under the ownership of a single private individual. Larger than many American towns. Larger, in fact, than several Caribbean nations' entire landmass of developed territory. There is, however, something beneath this land that complicates the picture, literally beneath it. Part of the Olau Ranch sits atop known burial grounds of Native Hawaiian ancestors. Julian Ako, a local resident, spent months in difficult negotiation with Zuckerberg's team simply to access and register the graves of his great-grandmother and her brother, people whose bones lie in soil that is now part of a billionaire's ranch. The state of Hawaii has confirmed there is a high probability of additional ancestral remains on the property. Workers have been instructed to report any discovery of bones. The NDA structure, some critics note, creates a system where such a discovery could happen, and the public might never know. Professor Puali Irosi of Kauai Community College, who teaches Native Hawaiian studies, I'll put it plainly. If the island has any hope of remaining Hawaii, this kind of land accumulation has to stop. This is the part of the story that doesn't fit neatly into the architecture walkthrough. Now let's talk about the empire that paid for all of it. Mark Zuckerberg's official annual salary is $1, not a metaphor. $1 per year as CEO of one of the 5 most valuable companies in the history of human commerce. It is a strategy, not a sacrifice. His wealth does not live in a paycheck. It lives in approximately 350 million shares of Meta platforms, representing about 13.5% of the company's economic equity, held through a series of trusts and holding companies. More importantly, through Meta's dual-class share structure. Those shares carry voting power that gives him approximately 61% of the company's total vote. He does not have a controlling interest. He has an absolute majority. On the most consequential decisions at Meta, Zuckerberg does not negotiate. He decides. Meta's 2025 revenue crossed $201 billion. 3.5 billion people use a Meta product every single day: Facebook, Instagram, WhatsApp, or Threads. That is more than a third of every human being alive on this planet, logging on, scrolling, connecting, and generating the advertising signal that drives Meta's economics. The company does not make most of its money from subscriptions or hardware. It makes money the way the television networks made money in the 20th century, by aggregating attention and selling access to it. Except Meta does this at a scale and with a precision that no television network ever approached. Every time you stop scrolling on an Instagram reel, every time you linger on a Facebook post for 2 seconds longer than the one before it, Meta's systems are reading that signal, classifying it, and feeding it back into an advertising engine of extraordinary sophistication. Brands do not just buy placements on Meta, they buy behavioral targeting, the ability to reach a 34-year-old parent in Columbus, Ohio, who is actively researching jogging strollers and recently started following a running account. The specificity is, depending on your perspective, either the most remarkable achievement in marketing history or the most unsettling one. Either way, it generates $201 billion a year. Instagram alone, which Meta acquired in 2012 for what seemed like an outrageous $1 billion, is now estimated to be worth somewhere between $100 and $150 billion as a standalone asset. WhatsApp, acquired in 2014 for $19 billion in a deal that was openly mocked at the time, now carries over 2 billion active users. The Oculus acquisition brought Meta into virtual reality, and while the metaverse bet was costly, Meta's Reality Labs division lost over $13 billion in a single year at its peak. The underlying investment in spatial computing has positioned the company for whatever comes after the smartphone. And then there is AI. Zuckerberg made the decision early to publish Meta's AI research openly, making the Llama model family available to developers globally, rather than lock it behind a commercial wall. That decision is now widely regarded as one of the most strategically consequential choices in the current AI era. It accelerated adoption, built goodwill in the developer community, and positioned Meta as a foundation layer in the AI ecosystem rather than just another player. The stock market responded accordingly. Beyond Meta, Zuckerberg's real estate portfolio stretches well beyond Kauai. In Palo Alto, he owns a cluster of 11 homes in the Crescent Park neighborhood, a compound within a suburb valued at over $112 million, acquired over years to create a security perimeter around his primary Silicon Valley residence. There is a property in Washington, D.C., there are holdings in Lake Tahoe, and in 2026, Mai-He and Priscilla Chan acquired a residence on Indian Creek Island near Miami, one of the most exclusive private communities in the United States, a barrier island off Miami Beach where the median home price runs into the tens of millions. His total real estate holdings across all properties are now estimated to exceed $400 million. The man who takes home $1 a year has built a real estate empire worth nearly $500 million. The math only makes sense when you remember where the actual money lives, in a stock price that moves like weather, and in the voting structure that lets him control the storm. Behind the compound, behind the board meetings, behind the congressional hearings and the regulatory battles and the endless public scrutiny, there is a version of Mark Zuckerberg that his neighbors on Kauai describe differently than the version in the newspapers. He surfs, not casually, not the way tech executives go surfing to seem relatable. He trains seriously, competing in MMA, lifting heavy, and approaching physical fitness the way he approaches product development, with metrics, with consistency, and with a competitive edge that his opponents in the jiu-jitsu gym have reportedly found surprising. When Elon Musk challenged him to a cage match in 2023, Zuckerberg accepted without hesitation and spent months training before the fight fell apart for reasons that remain, diplomatically, unclear. His coaches have described him as one of the more disciplined students they have worked with, not because he is naturally gifted, but because he refuses to miss a session. And he studies footage the same way he studies product data. On Kauai, the version of him that exists outside the headlines is quieter. He and Priscilla wake up early. He is known to do his morning training before the island fully stirs. He has spoken about the satisfaction of manual labor, the specific pleasure of fixing something physical with your hands, of watching an animal you are responsible for grow healthy, of understanding where food comes from at the most literal level. On Kauai, he and Priscilla raise cattle. He has spoken publicly about his goal of producing world-class beef, Wagyu cattle, raised on Hawaiian grass, with the care and precision of a product launch. He ferments his own hot sauce. He harvests honey from hives on the ranch. These are not celebrity hobbies staged for social media. They are the hobbies of a man who builds things and wants to build things that are not digital, things that take time and smell like soil and do not scale. He and Priscilla have 3 daughters. The couple met at Harvard, married in 2012 in a ceremony in their Palo Alto backyard, and have operated the Chan Zuckerberg Initiative together since 2015, a philanthropic vehicle to which they pledged 99% of their Meta shares over their lifetimes. In practice, that pledge has already generated billions of dollars in contributions to education, healthcare research, and scientific discovery. On Kauai specifically, they have donated more than $20 million to local nonprofits. The workers on Olau Ranch are among the best paid employees on the island. The contradiction between the generosity and the burial grounds, between the conservation mission and the sheer scale of the land grab, between the family man and the surveillance architecture, that contradiction is real. It does not resolve cleanly. That's true of most things worth understanding. Here is what does resolve cleanly. A boy in Dobbs Ferry, New York, writes a program to help his father's dental office communicate. He writes another one in high school that 2 of the biggest technology companies in the world want to buy. He turns them down, goes to college, drops out, and builds the largest social network in human history from a dorm room. He loses $100 billion in a year and comes back to $270 billion. And somewhere in the middle of all of it, he finds an island in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, older than memory, greener than anything his screens can produce, and decides to stay. 2,300 acres, 11 treehouses, a bunker beneath the earth, and an empire worth more than the annual budget of a small country wrapped around every square foot of it. That is Kolo Ranch. That is what it looks like when you build something and you never ever stop. Which part of this story hit you the hardest? The compound, the comeback, or what's buried beneath it all? Drop it in the comments below. And if you want more deep dives into how the world's biggest empires get built, you're already in the right place. Welcome to Apex Status.